It's a Ravens hat actually, but the backside just says NFL on it.
Nice. Well, that's all right. Even though it's got the logo, no endorsements are given or asked for. What's up, guys? We're
We
back.
can endorse the NFL. That's allowed, I think.
Oh, is it? All right, cool. Well, one day
I
if
mean,
the
like we're talking about them, so it's not like controversial.
yeah, that's a good point. All right, hey everybody, we're here. We're back for week 4. We're not gonna have long introductions today. Joe and I are both still feeling a little bit under the weather. It's that change in the season time, so we're gonna get up here. We're gonna get up, get our stuff out, and then we're gonna get up out of here. Joe, first of all, how are you? How was your week?
I'm all right. I'm ready to go. Ready for some more football. I need it after the first half of this week.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, this week was definitely like a what the hell week, right? Like this is that week that you look back and it was like, you know, everybody made some interesting calls, and it was a bit of a tough one to gauge, and we thought that there were some good games and stuff like that, but then once the games actually started, everything was just like really crazy, out of control. A lot of strange things happened. This was just the clusterfuck week. It was just strange. So we're not going to harp really on what was right and what was wrong from last week. We'll touch about it a little bit when we go through the games. So back by popular demand this week is we're going to go through all of the games and touch on what we think is important for each one. And while we're doing that, we'll also recap some things that we were right and wrong about from last week. But this was just kind of a crazy week, so we don't the laundry list of things that we were wrong about is so significant that if we went through everything, we would spend the entire stream talking about what we were wrong about. So once again, I don't think we made a ton of horrible decisions from an ideological standpoint. I think some things just went kind of strange last week. Wouldn't you agree, Joe?
I mean, some teams that we really thought would do well just didn't show up. It just seemed like the Raiders and the Dolphins just never got off the bus, and just totally left it back at home and didn't show up for the game at all. So that was really the biggest ones that we missed on, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I think the Raiders and the Dolphins especially, but also the Raiders, they just played some of the laziest games that I've seen in a really long time in the NFL. And the margin gap of skill is not so great that where you can just show up and you can just expect to beat teams. It's any given Sunday, and there's a lot of really good talent, for a reason. So you just can't expect to come up and like you said, not even get off the bus and expect to win. That also happened to the Ravens this week too. The Ravens didn't even travel to get there. Forget getting off the bus. They didn't even travel to get there. So it was just a bit of a strange week. But I tell you what, it was nice. I'm not really a big fan of the London games, but it is nice waking up to football. That's kind of a nice little way to start your Sunday. Is to wake up and it's like the first game is already ready to go. That's kind of nice. I got to give it to you on that. Yeah,
it's nice as long as it's not the team that you care about.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the first game that we got this week is the Thursday night game tomorrow. It's going to be Bears-Packers. Now, Joe, I think a good thing that we need to address this week, because everybody we had a lot of talk with our friends and some other people inside the football community and talking about Thursday night games, and the last one blew up, right? We had 49ers-Rams, and it was just a huge fantasy extravaganza. I mean, it was just a banana sandwich bonanza. It was great. But what people need to understand is that when we talk poorly about Thursday night games, it also translated to this game in a sense that it was not a good game. It was not a good football game. There was a lot of sloppiness. There were a lot of penalties. There were a lot of, like you were saying, muff punts. It wasn't a good game. It just so happened that it was one of the most prolific scoring from a fantasy perspective, scoring events in a long time for Thursday night. And it just so happens after we were so dead bent about not playing people on Thursday night, especially from not good teams, this one actually blows up. So it was just a little bit of a strange occurrence. I'm still not high on people for Thursday night. What do you think about the people for tomorrow?
I'm not high about him either. If I had to pick someone to be high about, it'd be the Packers, just because historically, since Aaron Rodgers has been there, when they play in Green Bay, they just beat the crap out of the Bears. It doesn't matter who's on what team, who's healthy. It doesn't matter. Packers just beat the crap out of them. They're playing in Green Bay, so, Rodgers is always good there. So I'm not afraid of him. Anybody who's carrying an injury, I'm afraid of. So that includes Jordan Howard. I am pretty afraid of him this time. I think there are two things really going against him in this game, which is one, that he has this shoulder injury that he's dealing with. You could see at the end of the last game, he was like running and turning his body so that he wouldn't be tackled on his shoulder like at
Yeah.
the end of this game. He had a fantastic game.
Yeah.
But you could tell he's not right. Like he had a fantastic game despite the fact that he's not right. On 3 days rest, I don't feel great about him replicating that. Additionally, as I mentioned, I suspect the Packers are going to be up in this game, which means that Howard's not going to play all that much in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I think from a season-long perspective, if you play in a league of any size, I think it's really hard to sit Cohen or Howard just because the Bears run so much, right? Everything in their offense is predicated around running, whether it doesn't matter if it's dump-off passes to Cohen or actually just lining up and trying to run that zone blocking scheme that they run. So I don't think I'm sitting either of them from that perspective, but I definitely don't want anybody else from the Bears side. And from the Packers side, I would expect them to be up 100%. But even then, I'm still just not keen on playing people on Thursday nights. Like I'm not sitting anyone important, but I'm just not big on the Thursday night games. And we were talking about this earlier about with the Bears, with the way that they're playing defense and everything. This could be the Aaron Rodgers relax game, right? They could lose this game and he tells everybody to chill out. I don't think they'll lose in Lambeau, but it could be way closer than people think, and it may be competitive from the standpoint of not a lot of fantasy production. So that could wind up working out that way. So
to be clear, I do like Cohen in this game. I think he's a good player.
That's fair. Yeah, I think that's fair.
And I also just want to mention, last week we doubled down on the Bears defense. A pretty good call. They had 2 turnovers, a block kick, and we're about half yard of laziness away from getting a touchdown. Do not play the Bears defenses.
Yeah, don't play him this week. This isn't a week to triple down on the bet. I wouldn't say by any means. So, so let's see. So the next game that we have is going to be the London game. It's going to be the game that we wake up to on Sunday morning, and that's going to be Saints-Dolphins. I think this one has maybe some of the best potential of the week to actually be one of those explosive, high-powered games that we really want to try and target. But there are also drawbacks for this game as well. It's a London game, and that's one of those things where it's just another type of game that I don't want to really target and don't want to be a part of. Snead comes back this game. I think a lot of people are going to get roped into playing him because he's finally back. I think this is a bad week for it. You just don't play guys that have been out of the NFL for a couple of weeks, and especially when their first game back not only is away, but it's in another time zone. It's in a place that they're not used to playing ever. I would not play Snead this week. I feel like it seems like you're feeling the same way.
I mean, the Saints run a timing offense, and this guy's been out of it for 4 weeks. Don't play him. After the bye week against the Packers, play him. This week, don't play him.
Yeah, definitely.
But
who are you looking to play on?
I think this game would be our game of the week, and maybe it still is. It would be our game of the week, the one that we want to be involved in as often as possible if we're being played in the continental United States. But having it over in London, it throws kind of a wrench into things. You don't know what you're going to get. The weather there sucks in general. So there's going to be a good chance of rain. In addition to that, everybody's time zones are all wacky. The Saints have been there all week, so they probably have an advantage, I would think. But I think the Dolphins have played there a little more frequently than the Saints have.
They have.
So it's going to be a little bit of a mess. One thing I'm not excited about is the Dolphins' run game again. They were really bad last week. I think they'll be better than that. And if you have Ajayi in season long, you just got to play him probably. But
sure.
The Saints' run defense actually has been okay.
Yeah, they're not abysmal. They get really beat up by running backs that catch the football a lot, and Ajayi is not that kind of guy. But they're going to get torn up by Jarvis Landry.
I think Jarvis Landry is my biggest guy for this game that I want to be a part of. Is I don't see anybody the Saints have that can guard him. If they've been putting PJ Williams in the slot, and he is terrible at it.
He's bad, yeah. I think the other person, if you're maybe trying to, the Saints aren't great at, or they're known for giving up big plays. So I think Stills could be a guy that may get a long touchdown or so. That could be pretty productive. But that's really all. I want no part of the Saints run game in this game at all. I think you'll see a healthy dose of Michael Thomas in this game to a certain extent, but I also think that the sneaky play, and you mentioned this earlier, is Kobe Fleener could be a good guy in this game. Just weak in the linebacker position for the Dolphins, and it still remains that for this Saints offense to really tick, the tight end has to be involved in some way, right? But I tell you, I'm gonna. I don't know if I'm willing to actually put this down in stone, but this could be the backup tight end 3 touchdown to John Kuhn game as well. You know, like this could be the game
They just
that
resigned Kuhn. He apologized to him by giving him 3 1-yard touchdowns.
Yeah, this could be one of those games where the Saints have to get creative to wind up scoring points. So you could see that game out of this as well. But once again, just London games I'm sort of avoiding.
Yeah. Just be hesitant about the London games. They're weird.
Yeah.
As you saw this past time. So next game, Panthers-Pats. If Cam Newton had a right shoulder, this would be a really exciting one.
Yeah, I'd be super excited for this game if he
doesn't.
playing.
So don't play any Panthers.
Yeah.
But the Pats, on the other hand, the Saints showed that the Panthers defense can be exploited, and the Pats will do that probably. You like anybody from them?
Yeah, it's just really hard to predict the Hogan versus Cooks kind of thing, and it's conventional wisdom tells me that Cooks should be the guy this week. You know, I think he should be better this week. I mean, he's all around better receiver, right? He's just a better player, and I think that the rapport is beginning to form with Tom, and I don't know. I would say Cooks if I had to put my money on it. I mean, they had a 5-touchdown game last week, so it's not like anybody was really singled out as the guy to really, be on. It's not like we could take a ton away, but Cooks doesn't have a ton of targets, which is really my biggest worry that I draw from that. I want a guy who's involved as a part of the game plan no matter what, not relying on big plays, right? And so Cooks is not necessarily that guy. He really needs the big play, and really that second touchdown that he had really should have been, the defender should have busted that up. Like that was really, really poor by him. Cooks made a great catch and he stayed in bounds, and Brady made a good throw, but I would just think that 8 out of 10 other times like that would get broken up, and he probably wouldn't have that. It wouldn't have been anywhere near as big of a day. So I like Gilly in this game because I think they'll be ahead. Like that may be the person that I think probably has the best value overall, especially in DFS because he's much cheaper than everybody else. What about you?
Yeah, other guy I kind of like actually is Amendola. He was quiet last week coming off that injury, but the last time he was healthy, he had like 100 yards and 10 catches in the first half. Brady really likes him. And, the Panthers are going to play that 3 deep thing. Their corners kind of suck, so they can still get beat deep, even though they're sitting back kind of deep. But if they actually do it properly and do play it 3 deep, I think Amendola is going to be able to find those holes and things. Patriots offense is always hard, so the guy I really want to be a part of is Tom Brady. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I think the other thing a good point that you bring up with Amendola is that also goes back to the Cooks thing, is like if Amendola plays, it should limit Hogan more than anyone else too. So that's probably why I'm fading away from Hogan more than anybody else in this whole matchup. I'm interested to see what McCaffrey does here because Bill is known for taking away the best thing that you do, and the only thing that the Panthers do on offense is McCaffrey. So I'm interested to see what they do for him. I don't know that they can stop him. I don't know that he's really stoppable. But Bill usually does a pretty good job of limiting that specific person more than anyone else. So I don't even know if I'm super high on him, and that's definitely the only thing that I want in the Panthers offense. Like it's a bad situation on the Panthers right now.
Yeah, I think if Hightower plays on the Patriots linebacker, I think if he plays, McCaffrey it loses a lot of value. I think if he doesn't play, I just don't know how they can stop him.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good point. Next game is Jags at the Jets.
It's going to be a thriller.
Real thriller.
Not a lot of offense in this one, guys, but fire up the Jags defense.
Yeah, I would fire up Jags defense. I also, in DFS especially, I like Fournette for just the usage that he gets because he's like, I think he's $6,700, maybe $6,700 or $6,800, and just a guy that gets at least 20 touches. I mean, he's been getting 20 touches a game, absolute bare minimum floor. Like even when they were really ahead and they were playing other running backs and stuff like that, I mean, they're just utilizing Fournette in a way that I think is really good for his fantasy floor. So if you want to fire him up in DFS, I would condone that. And I don't think that the Jets defense or the Jets run defense is like something scary all of a sudden. I really just the Miami Dolphins played such a sloppy game last week, and they started almost every drive with 3rd and 15 because of the penalties. Like they just did not play a good game last week, and I think that if they had gotten something going, the run game would have been much more prolific. So I'm still not afraid of playing them in this matchup. But anyone else, like, please don't go out and like start playing Mercedes Lewis or something like that. Like, that shit is not going to happen every week. If you lost to that guy last week, it was just an anomaly. It was just strange and an outlier. Do you want anybody from the Jets in this game?
No.
Okay. I like it. Also, I don't want to play. People may get stuck into playing like Bortles and stuff like that. I don't want any part of that either. He was not good in the last game. Like they just beat them so handedly. Like
if this game goes as we think it will, the Jags will play defense and run the ball, which is what they do every week.
Which is what they should do every week.
I mean, they're winning despite Bortles, not because of him. The coach knows that. So just don't play their passing game. Stay away.
Yeah.
Titans, Texans. This one could be kind of fun. It's a divisional game, so it makes it messy. The Texans just got really torn apart in their secondary by the Patriots, who are really good. But the Titans' offense is actually better at passing than people are giving it credit for. I kind of like the Titans receivers in this one, especially Rashard Matthews.
Rashard Matthews just has. He and Mariota really, really, really have a good connection, and every single week I think he's underpriced, and every single week he just does well. Like he's got a great floor. I think he's perfect for cash games. I think we'll be all over him this week personally. And you're right. I just don't think that the Texans are playing that great in the secondary. And then I think also if they're going to cover one person, I think Corey Davis is the most talented receiver, so he's going to draw number one coverage. You don't think so?
Nope, he's not playing.
Oh, he's not playing. Okay. Yeah. So, I still don't think that limits Rashard Matthews for me all that much. Like it doesn't really limit. I just don't think that they're playing that well on the back end of their defense.
As far as I can tell, that they didn't cover anybody against the Patriots last week. So, I mean, again, the Pats are really good. And Bill knows the other Bill O'Brien pretty well.
Yeah, he does.
But I'm not afraid of Mariota or Rashard Matthews. And I think with Corey Davis out, like, who's going to throw it to? Delaney Walker and Rashard Matthews.
Right.
I really like Delaney Walker in this one.
I like Hopkins on the other side of the ball too. I know you're a little lower on him than I am this week, but I think that Hopkins is due for a good game in this sort of scenario. It's a division game. He always plays hard in division games, and even though Watson runs around a lot, I still think that he knows that the game plan is to try and get it to Hopkins. And the Titans, I mean, the Titans secondary just isn't good. Like they don't scare me in any way whatsoever. So Hopkins is the kind of guy that can take over this sort of game. So I like him in this one too. But that front four, at least for the Titans, is good enough to hold the running game, so I probably wouldn't be super excited about them in this one. But Hopkins, and then like you said, Delaney and Rashard, and even Mariota, I like in this game. So next one is.
I'm not afraid of the Titans running backs, but it's just kind of messy right now with the carries being, they're not split in half, but they're being split more than you'd like. DeMarco had a huge run that kind of saved his day last week,
totally
like a 75-yard touchdown.
Yeah,
but it's just not a great situation right now. So if you got to play one, DeMarco's obviously the guy.
The other thing that helps that out too is that Henry's hurt. Henry's hobbled this week. He's not hurt, but he was limited in practice today and stuff like that. So, I don't know about the carousel with them. They're both going to get used no matter what, as long as they're good to go. They're both going to get used. So it all comes down to who gets the goal line carries and stuff. And they do more of a series split. One guy will play this amount of series and stuff like that, and it's just kind of how they're moving the ball on that specific series when they're in the game. So
yeah. Well, if Henry's hurt or carrying an injury, I'd play DeMarco as long as it seems like his hamstring's feeling a little better. I'm not afraid of the Texans' rush defense or anything like that, and the Titans want to run it. So
yeah, for sure. Next game is Steelers-Ravens. In this one, I mean, it's Road Ben, right? So if there's anything that
the Ravens in a divisional game, I mean, the Steelers and the Ravens, it's like when these two teams play, just like stay away, except for Antonio Brown, right?
Yeah.
I mean, these two teams play and Le'Veon Bell, but like when they play each other, it's just a slugfest. Like 3 yards in a cloud of dust, just 1950s face football. Like it's fun to watch if you like hard hitting in defense, but like there's no fantasy value to be had here.
Yeah, I agree. I think the best fantasy value here, other than Antonio Brown, is maybe the Ravens defense, who we're going to try and get a hold of in DFS this week. It's just Guys, we're not joking about it. Like, Road Ben is awful. Like, don't
He
play
lost to the
him.
Bears last week.
Yeah. It's just Road Ben is not good. So yeah, I agree. There's not much fantasy value in this one. It's those division games, right? This is one of those division weeks where it's just like slugfest all over the place, and it makes it really tough to glean any fantasy value from a good portion of the games. And this is one of those where it's just like normally people that we can rely on in fantasy are just this week. So
yeah, and even the good people there might be points scored, but it's going to be like one of these games like the Titans game was a few weeks back where like if somebody scores 25 or 30 points, it's going to be some, random guy you never heard of before scoring touchdowns.
Exactly.
So it's just, there's no joy to be had in this one except for, you can play Antonio, like even in DFS you can play Antonio because he's just matchup proof.
Right, absolutely. So the next one is the same division, but the Ohio game, the even worse version of this division, and it's Bengals Browns. And if I have AJ Green, I'm obviously not sitting him. I want AJ Green. I mean, he's just too good of a football player. Also, with Laser taking over this offense, it's just going to be
Seems
a better
like Mixon's
version.
the guy, right? I mean, that's what he showed. That's what he showed last week.
Absolutely. I mean, 21 touches. I think he's going to have another 20-plus touch game. I told you guys last week that I didn't think you were going to see much of Jeremy Hill. Sure enough, you don't see much of Jeremy Hill. Laser is just a better offensive coordinator than Zampese is. He helped out Dallas a while back while Romo was still there, and then he also moved on and helped Tannehill improve a lot when they were in Miami. And everywhere that the guy's been, the offense has operated better when he took over as offensive coordinator. So I think that they'll be better off. I'm still not like going out and trying to get a hold of all the Bengals, but Mixon is somebody that I would consider buying low on because he's just going to get a lot of volume, and I think he's the most talented person in the trio. And that was the biggest hold on him in the first place, was that he was part of the trio, and the trio was so evenly split. I think that's going to start leaning in his favor a bit more, and I think that'll really help him. And I think he'll be definitely playable, especially like this week in DFS. I think he's $5,700. He's going to get enough touches to make it worthwhile to pay $5,700 for him. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I like that. The other guy, so Tyler Everett's not playing, and the Browns don't guard tight ends. So the Bengals' backup tight end is Tyler Kroft, I think.
Yeah,
he's
Kroft.
Like fine. I mean, if you need to buy a really cheap guy who might get a touchdown, he's a guy you can get. I wouldn't play him in season long or anything like that.
No.
But on the Brown side, they're like just really struggling right now. Kaiser's throwing way too many interceptions, so they can't get their ground game going at all. For whatever reason, I know Kaiser's strength is like chucking the ball deep, but they need to like tell him to stop because these are so many interceptions, and it's just killing them. But Duke Johnson's like kind of a guy you can play.
Yeah, definitely.
They're probably gonna be losing again, even though the Bengals are bad. I don't really know what to expect out of this game, but it seems like with all the with Corey Coleman out, that for whatever reason Duke Johnson kind of became the guy they just went to. I don't love the Browns. Any Browns in this game?
Yeah, I mean, I don't love any part of him either. But if we're talking about people that you can play, Duke Johnson, they said before the season even started that he was gonna be their slot receiver, and he really has been their slot receiver. And my gripe with them was the first couple of games they were running him so far away from the line that Kaiser had to throw everything long. He played a lot. He ran shallower routes this past week, and it paid off much more. He had a bit of a long-ish touchdown. It was a nice play by him. Like he had a nice play, but that bolstered his day a lot more than the actual usage really depicted. So I still do like Duke Johnson. He's cheap. I think he's $4,500 on DraftKings this week. So it's nice. I mean, it's a good play, and it's a person to bet on. But I just like you said, I don't want any part of the Browns really. And Kaiser has to stop. Period. Just throwing as many balls. He threw 47 passes. Like he needs to not throw that many passes for them to try and be successful. Even if they're behind, they need to try and establish the run game a bit better. But I'm just staying away from this game.
Yeah, we've spent too much time talking about a game that's being played in Ohio. Lions Vikings. This one's pretty intriguing to me. The Vikings just went nuts last week, and we all know that Case Keenum kind of sucks. So what's going on there?
Well, I just think it shows more than anything else. I talked to you guys. I think I said it 2 weeks ago, especially when Bradford beat up on the Saints. It's not that Bradford's like really that good. All this team completely revolves around how well their offensive line is going to play, and as long as somebody can be there in the backfield to just moderate how the game is going and just not turn the ball over, they'll be pretty successful. I mean, they have two good wide receivers, they have a good tight end, and now they have a back that they can pretty much play in any scenario, whether it be the passing or the running game. And the line has played way above their expectations. I thought this was going to be the worst line in football again this year, and they've played significantly better than that. So I'm not super afraid of playing any of the Vikings players depending on who's back there, because Sam Bradford wasn't that great. He's never been better than like QB 16 ever in a season. So like it's not. I'm not really afraid of whoever is orchestrating back there. I just think that you can pretty much play. You can play him every week, you know?
Yeah, I like Dalvin Cook this week. I think he's shown that he's going to be pretty good. He gets a lot of volume, gets a lot of catches. So in PPR leagues, he gets even more added value. The Lions' defense is fine, but it's not great. Their linebackers are pretty okay at best. So I'm not afraid of him at all. I like Dalvin Cook a lot. Diggs has shown that he can go nuts sometimes.
Yep.
So he's always a good play for you. But he also, like, just because he's a little bit of a small guy, he can get quiet at times.
Yeah, no doubt. I also think something to keep in consideration, one of the reasons that we like Dalvin Cook so much, and to be clear, I did not like him before the year. It was really the line that I thought was going to limit him more than anything else. But Dalvin Cook is on the field for almost every play. So that guy gives you a lot of capability. Even if the play turns south, he's there as a dump-off guy. Like, he's a really great outlet for a quarterback that's a game manager, like Case Keenum, like Sam Bradford, whoever they really have back there. So that's another reason why Dalvin Cook, especially at the price he is, I think he's $6,700 this week. He just is another one like Leonard Fournette. He just gets so much volume. Or $6,500 rather. He just gets so much potential to be there, to be a part of the play, that he's worth paying that amount of money for. What about on the other side from the Lions? Who do you like in this one?
Vikings defense is really good. The only person I'm kind of excited about for the Lions is playing one of the deep receivers, so either Marvin Jones or Kenny Golladay, just because they, I think that Xavier Rhodes is going to match up with Golden Tate.
He should.
Yeah, he followed Antonio Brown around, who's kind of a smaller, quicker guy. I'm not saying that Golden Tate's Antonio Brown, but he's the only person that needs to be followed around on the Lions. The rest of those guys are just guys. So whoever doesn't get matched up with Xavier Rhodes has a good shot at getting a deep one. Trey Wayne sucks when they go deep, and I know they went Golladay early in the first game of the season, but since then it's kind of been Marvin Jones when they've gone deep. So that's the guy that I would go with in DFS. But either one of those is kind of just a toss up and saying, like, hope he burns Trey Wayne's deep, which is a good bet.
Yeah, I think it's a good bet, and the whole Kenny Golladay thing was just that he's the biggest body receiver, so around the red zone he's going to benefit. But I think like you were saying, Trey Wayne's getting beat deep is a pretty good thing to bet on, and I think Marvin Jones is the guy for that, right? I think he's the most likely the most likely scenario that he'll make hay while Trey Wayne's is on him. I tell you what, other than that, I really don't like anyone, specifically because Xavier Rhodes should shadow Tate, and then also they have really good linebackers, so Riddick will even be completely neutralized in this game too, so you're not even going to get a bunch of dump off passes to the running back. So I really, and they also have good safety, so Ebron isn't really going to make hay in this matchup either. I think that a lot of this funnels through Marvin Jones. I think that's probably your best bet in this game.
Yep. All right, Rams Cowboys. This one might be our game of the week for offense.
It may be.
Which you wouldn't have believed even 3 weeks ago. The Rams offense has just looked really good. Sean McVay's got that thing running really well. Todd Gurley looks phenomenal. Play him again, absolutely. The Cowboys secondary is a joke as far as we can tell. I mean, they're hurt. They're injured. They're injured,
yeah.
But they are really in bad shape. They weren't good to start with, and now they're injured and they're really in bad shape. So Sammy Watkins is a good bet if he gets out of concussion protocol. If he doesn't, then Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods are like super cheap in DFS leagues, and they're probably even available on the waiver wire in your other leagues. Play them. Like, the Cowboys are bad, and Goff is good enough, and McVay's made him good enough, and so they'll find a way to score. I mean, they're not going to score 40 again probably. The Cowboys just play too slow for that. But those receivers have a lot of value. They had some very okay players on the Cardinals making good plays out there against the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think this is a really good week if you need a wide receiver fill-in, especially in your season-long leagues. Go and get one of the Rams wide receivers. Like, just go grab one, put them in your lineup. They probably will not fail you this week just because the Cowboys secondary is so... They're in really, really rough shape, dude. Rough shape is an understatement. Like, it's terrible. So, I actually think that they'll perform way better than Gurley this week. I'm not saying don't play Gurley. I think Gurley's another really good play. Sean McVay obviously is creative. And you're right, he has Goff looking pretty good. Goff made some really nice deep throws, which I thought that he was going to be the worst at this year, and I was really low on Goff. Goff, I would even tell you is a really good streamer this week. Like, he's a good streaming option this week. I think him and Trevor Siemian are two good streaming options this week. If you need to fill in quarterback, if you're in a rough spot otherwise, if you have Derek Carr or something like that, and you really need to try and fill in or whatever, I think that those are good options for this week. On the Dallas side, I mean, I want Zeke. I want no part of Des Bryant, and Witten is on the field for literally every single play, so I want him too. I'd consider playing Cole Beasley this week. I'd consider Beasley being the other guy that I played, but you're right. They do play kind of slow. They don't get a ton of plays off, so I don't expect this one to be super, super explosive, but I do expect there to be some fantasy players coming out of this one.
This might be Zeke's week. I think this might be the week that Zeke says, I'm Zeke.
Yeah.
He does things that he was doing last year. The Rams' rush defense has struggled quite a bit this year.
Yeah. Sure.
I don't know why, but they have.
So the next one is
their defensive line's too good for them to be playing this badly, but they are.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know the answer to that. I need to watch them a bit more on the all 22 when I get a little bit more time. I don't really get to do as much of that and watch the coaches film when we stream, since we stream on Wednesday, and it's a bit too hard to get all of the games in plus coaches film in for specificity. But I'm gonna watch them a bit more and see why I think they're struggling in the front seven as far as getting pressure, but also not sacrificing the run defense as well. But you're right, this could be a Zeke week. I hope he does good Zeke things and says I'm Zeke. But the next game is Bills-Falcons. Interesting stat. The Bills, I think, even after this past week, I know it was definitely through last week, but the Bills hadn't given up a passing touchdown this entire season, and I don't know that it's actually because they're that good on the back end. Like, I don't really trust their back end that much. I think it's just because they hadn't played all that great of competition. Do you really, really love anyone in this game? And if so, who is it?
Well, I mean, before we get too excited about the Bills, they've played the Jets, the Panthers, and the Broncos.
Right.
None of those people have a quarterback. The best quarterback of that bunch is Trevor Siemian. That's all you need to know, right? I mean, the guys they played are very okay. So if they haven't given up a passing touchdown, it's less of their own. I mean, good for them. They, clearly they're an okay defense, but I mean, Cam is terrible right now. Trevor Siemian is fine. I know people were excited because he threw a lot of touchdowns against some bad teams, but the Bills are an above average defense. I'm not afraid of any Falcons this week, at all. But I don't think that they're going to go nuts and score 45 points or something like that. The guys I actually really like in this game are on the Bills side. And it's not that I think the Falcons defense is bad. This is just what happens in games that they play in because they score so many points, is that the other team gets a lot of chances to score points and they have to. So I really like LaShawn McCoy in this game especially. And I also like Tyrod Taylor because I think that the Falcons will get up and then they'll drop back into their cover three and Tyrod will either chuck it deep, which is high value throws, or run, which is a high value thing for a quarterback. So I like those two a lot in this game. The Falcons, I mean, the usual suspects are good. Julio's kind of hurt, so I wouldn't play him. And he's got a back thing happening, so I wouldn't be crazy about him in DFS. But like, he's shown that he doesn't really care if he's hurt. He can just go off whenever he wants to. So I'm not like terrified of him either.
Yeah, I kind of like Devontae Freeman in this game. I think they're going to do a lot of chinky check down passes and stuff like that and funnel it through that way. And obviously they've also shown that they want to run, especially around the goal line with him a bunch too. So if they do get down in the goal in the red zone, I think that Devontae Freeman could be a good play this week as well. I like LaShawn McCoy a lot in this game too. I think this is the week that he does the McCoy things. I think this is a good week for him. So
Falcons really struggle against pass catching running backs, and Shady's a really good one.
Yep.
If he gets out in space with the ball in his hands against those linebackers, while those linebackers are fast, they've shown that for whatever reason they really struggle with these pass catching running backs. You know, you saw what Ty Montgomery did to them a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, Jesus.
And LaShawn is a whole lot better than that guy. So,
yep.
You know, while they'll be focusing on him, I think it won't really matter.
For sure.
Eagles Chargers. This one's kind of interesting. The Eagles have kind of been leading a charmed life, it seems like, and Darren Sproles is out now. So for me, what that
like
means
that's out for career.
What's that?
I said that's like out for career. Like he's done.
Yeah, that's right. He retired just last week. And you know, while that's really unfortunate, I feel bad for him. We have to move on, and I think Wendell Smallwood. After Sproles got hurt, he was the guy. He had like 12 carries and 4 or 5 catches. I think you know, it seems pretty clear that he's going to be the guy. So I don't think he's going to go totally nuts, but he's like free on DraftKings. He's like $4,000 or something. He's also a potential waiver pickup if you want to play the Eagles running back game, which you shouldn't. But if you're in a really deep league and you need somebody to play in bye weeks or something, Wendell Smallwood's a guy you could pick up this week.
Yeah, I think he should be rostered. You know, like I don't think he should be chomping at the bit to get a part of the Eagles running game. But it is a good offense. They do keep the ball moving. They are pretty effective, and I do think that Smallwood will wind up being the best back out of the whole group. Which isn't. I don't think he's good, but like he'll be the best back of the whole, of the group and stuff. So I think he's the person to play. But just Zach Ertz is like unstoppable. He's just he cannot be stopped. Like Wentz just feeds him too much. I also think this is a decent week for Alshon Jeffrey as well. Other than that, I mean, Keenan Allen. I don't love Rivers this week for some like I just think that line is not good and the Eagles front seven is pretty stout. I don't like really a whole lot of stuff from the Chargers side. There's something to keep in note though. The Eagles are traveling out west for this game and teams never perform well going out west. So this is another one of those where it's like there's a bunch of divisional games and then this a team that is usually somebody that we can sort of count on travels out west. So it's also not a good game from that perspective either. So I would temper expectations with this one.
I'm not afraid of the Chargers passing game so much. Melvin's kind of hurt and the Eagles front seven's really good. He's going to get the volume, so like play him in season long leagues because he's going to get a lot of carries and always has a chance at getting a short touchdown. If they get tackled at the 1 yard line, he'll get it, trip across the line and get a touchdown. So that's good. But you know, I'm not afraid of Benjamin or Travis Benjamin or Tyrell Williams or even Phil. I mean, Phil is turnover prone, so if you're in a league that penalizes you for that, you should take that into account. But if you're in one of these leagues that doesn't care about interceptions or gives you like -1 or 2, the Eagles back four isn't great, and they're not. Kind of struggling. So you know, I'm not afraid of any of the Chargers' 3 receivers that play every snap, and I'm not afraid of Phil either.
Okay, that's fair. Next one is 49ers Cardinals. I actually think that this game it's just another divisional game. You know, it's one of those where you think that there should be some points in this one, especially there should be some deep balls to Goodwin in this game because Bethel sucks, but it's another one of those where it could just wind up being a slugfest and everybody could decide to play defense for 1 week. But if things go the normal route, I think that Larry should be Larry. We should probably see low upside out of Chris Johnson. Andre Ellington played decent last week, I actually thought. I thought he was the surprise last week. He played better than I expected him to play. I don't love him, but I thought he played better exceeded my expectations a bit. And I don't know. You're lower on Garcon than I am this week because Pete's going to cover him. But I think Hyde is a great play this week as well. He's been impressive this year. I mean, there's nothing else to really say, you know? Yeah.
Hyde looks really good in that offense, and he gets a lot of carries, and I like Hyde. The Cardinals have a pretty good front, but they can be run on. I don't think Hyde's going to go nuts, but I think he could have a good game, solid game. One thing that's like a real sleeper pick here, and this could definitely backfire, but I'm not terrified of the Niners defense in DFS.
Yeah.
The Cardinals offensive line is atrocious. Dallas rushed 3 people every play and sacked Palmer like 7 or 8 times. They couldn't block a 3-man rush. So, and the Niners have all those first round draft picks on their
That's what I was about to say. They have 4 guys that are good pass rushers, like really good pass rushers.
So I think they've got a shot at getting a lot of sacks, and when you get a lot of sacks, you get fumbles and touchdowns and interceptions and stuff. So
and hurt quarterbacks.
And hurt quarterbacks. And so, they're the cheapest defense in all of DFS, which means that like everybody else thinks they're going to suck. So this is definitely a contrarian pick you can make. But I think they're actually their value is much higher than being the worst defense in DFS. I wouldn't play them in season long necessarily, but
yeah,
I think they have a decent chance to get a lot of sacks. Otherwise, yeah, good win. Larry Fitzgerald. If you want to pick a Cardinals guy to go deep, it's JJ Nelson.
Yeah.
He goes deep and sometimes gets touchdowns, but he's really small, so he doesn't get a lot of targets or red zone stuff. So you're just banking all along TD. Otherwise, that's about it. I'm not crazy about the not even. Don't play the quarterbacks in this game.
Yeah, don't. That's the last people you want to play in this game.
Don't play the quarterbacks in this game.
Yeah.
Giants Bucks. This one smells like a stinker to me.
Which all right. Let's play the game. Like, which offense will find a way to underperform more in this game? Right? You have like this is just will it be like the McAdoo game, or will it be the Winston like 4 turnover game? Like it could be both. Like it actually could be both in this game. That's what could really wind up happening. It's
Odell Beckham's back, so
yeah, helpful,
the
very
Giants'
helpful.
offense, like McAdoo doesn't get any better when Beckham is back, but their offense gets better because Odell Beckham just does Odell Beckham things and wins games.
Yeah,
and does stupid celebrations. But like he's really good. So play him definitely. Like even in DFS, play him. Like
he should go nuts this week.
He's good.
Isn't Grimes potentially out this week too?
Grimes was out last week, and he was back at practice today, but who knows how much he was actually back at practice today. So keep an eye on that. If Grimes is out, definitely play Beckham because he'll go nuts on their crappy secondary. If Grimes plays, he's actually the kind of guy who can shut Beckham down because Grimes is kind of a jerk, and he's good at getting in people's heads. And for whatever reason, Odell can't control himself. So
he's such a diva, dude.
Yeah. So if he gets too pissed off, he might play bad, but. I don't know. I mean, I'm still not afraid to play him, but if Grimes is out, just play Odell. Just play him.
Yeah, I think Evan Ingram is a good play in this game. I think he's potentially a good play. I don't think Levante David is playing, is he?
He's not playing.
He's not. Yeah, I think Evan Ingram is probably a good play in this one. Janoris Jenkins is pretty good at covering big guys, and Mike Evans, it's tough. Like Mike Evans is not going to get shut down. Jameis just feeds him the ball too much, and he's a really, really good receiver. But Janoris Jenkins is a good corner against bigger guys, so you may just want to limit expectations, right? It may be 8 catches for 60 yards rather than 11 catches for 122 and 2 scores or something like that. So they'll probably try and go a different route in this game. And the Bucks, for all Winston really likes to sabotage them by turning the ball over, they do have a lot of weapons and they can score in a variety of ways. So they could funnel this through somebody other than Mike Evans, so you might want to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, if this game was in New York, I'd feel really good about playing the Giants defense. Jameis is just so turnover prone.
Yeah.
But at home, he's going to be a little better than he is on the road. That being said, he's going to throw at least 2 passes that hit Giants in the hands. He does it every game. It happens every single game. Like, whether the other team catches them or not, I don't know why they drop him so much. But every single game, there's at least 2 passes that hit the other team right in the hands.
Yeah.
And so, sometimes the other team's going to catch it and return it for a touchdown. So the Giants aren't a terrible, they're not a bad DST play this week.
No, they're a really good DST play this week. I think they're one of the best DST plays this week personally.
Yeah. So the Bucks offense is high powered, and it's true. Like they can just they could go nuts. Like if Jameis puts it together, they have a really good weapons around him, and he has the physical tools to do it.
Right.
But he just hasn't put it together mentally yet. He throws way too many stupid throws, and so while he's always a threat to score a lot of points, he's always a threat to throw a lot of picks.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, on the Giants side, it's just Odell. Don't play anybody else.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh God. No. No one else. No one. Don't ever. Maybe for the Evan Ingram. You could play Ingram. That's the.
Yeah,
only
you can
other
play
guy.
Ingram.
Raiders Broncos.
Raiders Broncos. Honestly, this is like one of my games I'm most excited about to watch. I love watching the Broncos defense play.
Yeah, they're so good.
I just love it. And they're going to be covering like some really good Raiders receivers. This is like a good matchup for them.
It is.
That being said, don't play the Raiders receivers in DFS. Like whoever is playing the Broncos, just don't play them in DFS. Season long, if you can, still don't play the Raiders receivers in season long if you can. I mean, obviously, if you have Crabtree or Cooper, sometimes you don't have much choice. But if you can get away with it, I wouldn't play them. The Broncos defense is just too good.
Yeah, I don't know if I wouldn't play him in season long, just from the standpoint of one of these guys will probably get a touchdown. Like, just because that's the only way that they'll really be able to score. Like, I just don't see any other way that they'll really effectively score unless Jared Cook has a monster day or they're running the ball so effectively. But I don't know. I don't know if that's the way that it'll happen. I think one of them will have a score. I just don't know which one it is. But otherwise, it's going to be a stinker of a day. Like the Denver Broncos secondary is really, really, really good. And I'll tell you, if the Oakland Raiders line plays another game like they did against the Redskins, they will score 0 points in this game. They played such a bad game, and they admitted it. And Derek Carr said he played a bad game too. Like, they have to get back on track. I think that they will. I think they're a good football team, and I think that Jack Del Rio is a good coach. I think that they'll get back on track. But if they play another game lazy ass like they did against Redskins, they will score 0 points in this game, and it'll be rough.
Yeah, on the Broncos side, I don't know why, but I mean, he's really good. I don't know why this has happened now, but Emmanuel Sanders is the number one receiver on that team right now.
Yeah, he had 15 targets last week?
He had 15 targets last week, and just been the whole season. He's had more targets than I think every game, more targets than Demaryius Thomas. And part of it might be that DT is getting more attention from the other team, but
Simeon may just like him. Simeon may just have that forced report, that feeding.
Yeah, whatever it is, Emmanuel Sanders is the number one guy right now on that team. And I don't know if it'll stay like that the whole season, but for this week, for me, he's the number one guy again. I mean, keep playing him until he stops getting 15 targets a game, right?
Yeah, it's not only that, he's pretty cheap, especially in DFS too. He's $6,100. I mean, like, and the Oakland Raiders secondary is poo. Like, they're not good.
Yeah, they're not great.
They're not good.
So I also don't mind CJ Anderson. Not crazy about him in DFS just because he's been they split carries 50-50 last week. That sucks. Nobody wants a 50-50 carry.
He played more snaps though, which is important. That's a good thing. He played more snaps. I think that they were in passing situations more than they would have liked to been last week, and they probably will not be this week.
Yeah, I think they'll run it more. Or they want to run it more, and I think their defense will allow them to run it more. So I like CJ Anderson. You can play him in season long. You can play him in DFS in like a cash league or cash game or something like that. But Jamal just limits his upside for GPP games.
Yeah, I mean, 5,600 is not a bad price for him. I just think that there's other guys that you can get with better upside and the same amount of touch volume. So.
Yep. Last Sunday game is Colts at the Seahawks. I still don't know what to think about the Seahawks. I mean, their offense showed up, which was 2 months too early as far as I'm concerned. Usually they show up around end of October or end of November, but they sure showed up against the Titans. The Colts don't have a great defense, although they've been playing kind of above their pay grade the last couple games, albeit against some bad offenses. What do you think about the Seahawks offense? Are they back? They figured it out already?
I'm not ready to go ahead and crown this offense as being here and ready to play for this season yet. I think that they have another dud game before they actually really go off. And this would be the type of team that they dudded up against, a team that they should just absolutely smash into the ground. I think Carson is going to get really, really awesome volume this week, and I think he could even be involved in the passing game because Procise is injured with not day-to-day, week-to-week. So that means he definitely won't play this week. I think he could see really, really great volume. I don't know. Baldwin is also a little hampered. I think he's going to play this week. I think they'll do okay. I actually think like the sneaky play on the other side of the ball is, and this is not reactionary from last week. It's just the kind of person that can beat them. It's T.Y. Hilton could be the type of play that winds up winning against the Seahawks this week. He's small, really fast. He can take one to the house almost at any time, like we saw last week. I don't love Brissett. I don't think he's all of a sudden good. We talked about him last week, and we talked about how he'd be part of the millionaire lineup, and sure enough, he was. I mean, he was 4,600. He was so cheap last week, and he just did enough point-wise and rushing-wise that he made it valuable to pick him. But he's not a good quarterback. Like, he's not all of a sudden lighting it up or anything like that, and he's not going to
go... Not playing the Browns anymore.
Yeah, it's exactly right. He's not going to go out and beat the Seahawks just straight up. I don't know. I think the Seahawks defense is still finding their way, too, though. I honestly don't know what to think about this game. Like, what do you think the score of this game is going to be?
20-3.
Okay, that's fair. I think that's a fair assessment. Like I don't.
Without thinking about it that hard. 20-7. I don't know, something like that.
So do you think that this is a game that the Seahawks show up and say we're for the second week in a row, like, hey, we're here to play offense?
No, I think it's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be like the defense like sets them up and then they like score and I don't know. I just like. This is a game that the Seahawks should win, so they'll screw it up. Like
yeah, that's exactly right. That's the way that I
like
think.
They should have beat the crap out of the Niners, and then they won like 12-10 or 12-7, 6 or some stupid thing. Like there will probably be an offensive touchdown in this one, unlike that one.
Yeah, but where will it be, and how close will it have been set up from the defense?
Yeah, I'm not ready to believe in the Seahawks just yet. They've got a lot of injuries too in their skill positions, and like Doug Baldwin's great, he's gonna tough it out, but he'll be limited and. I don't know. Maybe I'll be wrong, and then the Seahawks will be back. That would be great. We have another fantasy offense to get excited about.
Yeah, for real.
But I need to see it another week.
Yep, same. All right, Monday night game.
Monday night game, Redskins Chiefs. This is, I got to give them credit. They picked a good Monday night game. Last year, they really struggled with their choices for Monday night. This is a pretty fun game, I think. Playing in Arrowhead, so Chiefs defense is definitely a thing you can do. Whenever they're playing in Arrowhead, that's something you're allowed to do. Kirk Cousins looked really good last week. Unfortunately for him, he's not playing the Raiders anymore.
Yeah.
But the Washington offense looked like they're getting going a little bit. Chris Thompson looked really good, and Samaje Perine sucks a lot. So I mean, they should give Chris Thompson the ball more. They probably won't for some reason. I'm not crazy about playing him, but in GPP you can always play him because as he's shown, he's just always possible to have 4 touches or 8 touches and then 150 yards because he's got that ability. On the Chiefs side, I really like Tyreek Hill. I don't see any way that anybody on the Redskins can do anything to stop him. And the Redskins also really struggle against the tight ends, so that bodes well for Travis Kelce. The Chiefs are just set up to beat the crap out of the Redskins in this game, to be honest.
Yeah. Especially in season long, I'm playing Tyreek Hill every week specifically because I don't want to miss the big games, right? Like he's one of those people where you have to know yourself, and if you're not willing to play him every week, you need to not pick that guy. But especially this week, I think he's set up to really, really hammer it home. He's getting good volume though. It's just his quality of volume is difficult, right? He has a more difficult set of volume than say Mike Evans, so to speak, right? Where that guy just gets more. It's easier setup, whereas they have to be creative as to how they get Tyreek Hill the ball.
Tyreek Hill doesn't catch the ball 10 yards down the field, right? Like he doesn't. He catches it 50 yards down the field or at the line of scrimmage.
That's exactly right. He gets it in the backfield. He does it on end arounds. Yeah, that's exactly right. So he has to really make things happen, and he can. He's an electrifying player. He's really good. But yeah, I also think Kelsey's good in this one, dude. Kareem Hunt is he's just monster. Like he's just a monster every single week. Like
I don't want to say this because I don't like using comparing people like this, but he's statistically he's doing Jamal Charles things.
Yeah, he looks a lot like Jamal Charles did when
he's not as fast as him or anything.
No,
but
he's not.
Probably harder to tackle. And I mean, just if you look at the numbers of like what he's doing, it looks like healthy Jamal Charles in Kansas City.
Yeah, I mean that's what it's Andy Reid. I mean that's what we should have expected. We told everyone that the Chiefs running back is worthwhile. And I think this more goes to show how crappy Spencer Ware actually is.
I told you he was bad.
Literally, you put a guy back there with a pulse, and he's the best running back in football again. So it's like, you know. I guess we shouldn't be surprised if you can do anything. Like, people are also trying to sell high on Kareem Hunt. I don't think this is a sell high time. Like, he's gonna be a monster every single week.
Win.
Yeah, ride him and
win your championship.
Yep. Be happy that you drafted him. So Joe, out of all these games, we've gone over every single one. Which one is, if you have to pick one to try and target in DFS this week? I know this is a really tough question. We've talked about some of these division games and how much of a slugfest they're going to be and just how unreliable some of these offenses are. If you have to pick one, give me your game of the week.
I think the Rams Cowboys. To me, this is the safest one. I don't think it will be the highest scoring game of the week. I think there will be some other game that is higher scoring than this one, just because I think the Cowboys play too slow to be involved in the highest scoring game. But as far as being safe and picking one that I know will be high scoring and will support fantasy people, I think the Rams Cowboys is one that I'm pretty excited about.
I think that's the one. Like, I really do think that's the one as well. I'm gonna go ahead and just pick a different one just for the sake of it. I'm just gonna say the Saints Dolphins. I know it's the glaring, looks like obvious one. I just don't like London games. Really, the London thing is the only thing holding me back. But I do think that this game should get back on track as far as what these teams are good at, and that's chucking the ball around, dude. They're gonna want to chuck the ball around, and I think that there should be some fantasy fireworks in this one. And hopefully with Snead back, the offense for New Orleans at least looks like it usually does, and it's clicking, and it's a well-oiled machine. And just they don't have to go to Coleman and Tommy Lee Lewis as much. So I'm really hoping that it gets back to that sort of operational status. So I'm going to pick this one as my game to target this week. But I think this is going to be one of those weeks where we actually have a really big spread of players from a lot of different games in DFS, especially. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think so. There's not any obvious games. There's a lot of tough divisional games. A lot of tough matchups, a lot of like good defense versus good defense kind of thing, or things where it's not obvious what's going to happen. So some of these games are going to blow up, right? We're saying like they're all going to be stinkers. Some of them are going to blow up. We don't know
for sure. It's tough. It's very tough to pick those this week.
Yeah, and I think that the Saints Dolphins is probably the second best, and I think it has a much higher ceiling than the Cowboys game does. And the reason I think that is this: the Saints offense looks like they're rounding into form. And it seems to me like they're doing the right thing, getting there on Monday, getting their bodies adjusted, practicing in London all week, getting used to the weather, the food, whatever else, things that are weird that screw people up.
Practice facilities,
the routine. To people talking funny, all this stuff. And then the Dolphins aren't doing that. So that might on the surface be a little worrisome. But the Saints defense is just the kind of defense that Jay Cutler can take advantage of, right? Yep. I mean, they don't get a lot of pressure on the quarterback, so they're not going to really rattle him.
That's exactly right.
Cam Jordan's fantastic, but other than that, they really don't get any pressure on the quarterback. And they blow coverages deep, which is all Jay Cutler looks to do when things break down, is just throw it as far as he can.
Yep.
So it just seems to me like it's possible that can happen.
Or the other thing that he looks to do is throw to Landry after he's already out of his break and has stopped his route and stuff like that. And that's the kind of stuff that the Saints can give up. But the Jets just didn't allow that last week, and that was one of the reasons that they weren't able to convert any of those third downs and stuff like that. I agree with you. I think this game just has the most upside, and that's kind of why I picked it. I do like the Rams Cowboys, though. I think that's just... I think the Rams are just operating on a good level right now, and I think the Cowboys have enough to make the Rams keep playing. I think they have enough to keep the score going and stuff like that. And their secondary is just so depleted that I think that they're just going to have to score points. So I think that's a good one. All right, well, we've gone through all the games this week. That was really all that we were going to talk about. There weren't many free agent pickups this week. We didn't have a whole lot to talk about on the season-long front. This is a start your studs week. These are tough divisional games. You don't want to get cute with these sort of things. If you do have any questions for us, make sure to hit us up. I'll post our Discord in the description. Make sure that you follow us on Twitter. It's at FantasyFootballFB. If you need to get a hold of us, don't hesitate to email us or anything like that. But unless you have anything else, Joe, we're going to get up out of here for this week.
I just want to close with this: trade for Amari Cooper on Monday.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good one actually. Let's close with this. Give me one person for the rest of the season that you are willing to buy low on right now, and one that you're willing to sell high on right now, and I'll do the same thing.
On Monday, I'm willing to buy low on Amari Cooper.
So you want to wait for after the Broncos game?
I'd rather wait for after the Broncos game. I don't think he's going to do very much. You could even talk to the person now if you want and see, because they might already go. I mean, everybody knows he's going to do bad against the Broncos, right? Everybody does bad against the Broncos. So the guy might be more willing to trade him ahead of the Broncos game, saying like, look, I'm getting, it's basically a bye week for him.
Right.
So, you talk to him now, but like, he's going to be better. He's too good. He's going to be better.
He will.
He's not going to break out and have the 1,500-yard season that some people were perhaps sillily expecting him to do. But he's going to get 1,000 yards probably. Like, he's just he's too good, and he's not anywhere near on pace for that. So like, it's coming. Cooper's definitely a buy high guy.
All right,
buy low guy.
I would buy low on Pryor right now. He's huge. He runs like a gazelle, and I think that his offense is getting into sync with where they should be. And I don't believe in Josh Doxson. Like he's made some decent catches and stuff like that, but it's when I watch him, he just doesn't wow me like a good number one receiver. I think he played in a Mickey Mouse offense that got that produced a lot of yards, and he got a lot of accolades. But I don't think that he's a guy that I actually believe in anyway in the Redskins offense. And I think that Pryor is a talented receiver. I think that he's still learning, but he's talented. So I can understand if some people aren't as high on him and they don't maybe want that guy, but with what he's shown me thus far in the season, he's definitely hasn't lived up to his draft grade. So I'm going to that owner right now, and I'm probably talking to him and trying to acquire him this week. Who are you selling high on?
The main guy that I'm going to sell high on is Sammy Watkins.
Okay. He's
looked really good. He had a great game this week that just passed, and he ended this game, which is probably the best game of his career, one of them, with a concussion, and he's hurt again.
Yeah.
The dude's just going to get hurt. Sorry, he's just going to get hurt. If he stays healthy, he's going to be good. He may not be as good as he's been, but he's going to be good. I mean, it looks like this offense looks like they have an idea of what's going on. But the Rams have a tough schedule of cornerbacks coming up.
Yeah, really tough schedule.
The Cardinals twice, so he's got Patrick Peterson twice. He's got the Seahawks twice. He's got the Giants. They play some tough corners who are good at covering big physical receivers, and he's got the injury history. I think it's a good time to get out on Sammy Watkins.
Yeah, I think if you're going to sell any Ram, I think he's a great one to get out on. My sell high guy, it may even be too obvious at this point, but it's Chris Thompson. Like, he can't keep up at this pace with only getting a couple of touches a game. I think 10 touches a game is a really great point for him, and I don't think that you should abandon him or anything. I don't think you should sell just to sell, but I think if you can get somebody who's willing, especially in a PPR league, to maybe upgrade you for a guy that was drafted in the top 3 or 4 rounds that you think is solid, if you can turn Chris Thompson into Carlos Hyde or something like that, something crazy like that, like, do it. You know what I'm saying? Don't even if you can package him and maybe somebody else who's been a little bit of an overperformer, and you could try and get somebody who's a much better player who operates more touches in a better offense. I think that's something that I would be willing to do too. So that's somebody.
Yeah, Chris Thompson's been great lately, and part of that is the injuries at the running back position for the Redskins. Part of it is that he's had a few monster plays, which, like, he's been around long enough that we know he's not going to do that every week. He's not Tyreek Hill. Like, you can't depend on that for value like Tyreek Hill can.
Right.
And he's going to get 5 to 12 touches, looking at roughly 10 PPR points a week. He doesn't get a lot of red zone work.
No.
Guy scores touchdowns from far away. So, I think he's going to go down to that. So if you can trade him for someone who's going to get a little more than that, then you should do it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, that's it for us this week. That's all we're really going to do. If you guys want to hit us up, like I said, get in touch with us any way that you can. Join our Discord. Follow us on Facebook. I think it's just at Fantasy Elite. On Twitter, it's at Fantasy Elite FB. I'll roll out the Patreon page into the description of this YouTube video as well. And just, make good decisions for this week. Don't get cute. Get back to starting your studs. I think this should be a more regular week than the last week. That was absolute carnage. So until next week, we'll catch you guys later.
Stay classy.